Good morning. My name is John with the Pine Tree, and I have the great pleasure of being here with Dr. Andrea Sullivan.
Good to see you today, John.
Now, we're at Interbalance Chiropractic in Murphy's. Now, one of the things is, now you've been practicing, sports chiropractic for a lot of years, right? And what's your background?
Well, that's my background,
Okay.
actually, in that I've been practicing for maybe 22 years.
Wow.
It's been a long time, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and I've always been an athlete, really enjoy sports, so that was my
Yeah.
postgraduate concentration. And, I've just found over the years what gets me excited is inspiring people to live better lives.
Right.
To stay healthy, to get healthy, to be active. And so a big focus of my practice is helping people regain their mobility so they can get back to their exercise programs.
Right.
And the other big component that we're having a lot of issues with today is with nutrition.
Now, I think that's one of the things we want to focus on, because you're doing some things I think are pretty interesting. So you're actually testing people before they start their program or whatever, and then you can tell us a little bit about it. How does it work?
Well, part of my intake examination here is a antioxidant test. And this test is a really brilliant little device. It's a non-invasive technology. It takes 90 seconds. It's inexpensive and it's very, very accurate. It's being used in research in a lot of applications in this country and in many other countries. Some scientists at the University of Utah, I want to say about 10 years ago, were looking for a non-invasive way to look in the retina to screen for macular degeneration, and most of us know that's the leading cause of blindness in adults. So they were looking for a safe way to test, and they found this Nobel Prize winning light technology. Pulled it out, dusted it off, tweaked it a little bit, and came up with a pretty unique device that very accurately measures in the skin what your antioxidant levels are in the body. They originally did it in the eye, but then they found that they also had very accurate readings in the skin. Said, so what? Or some of the other scientists said, big deal, tell us about it. And so they did some correlation studies, and they found that this very highly correlates to blood levels of antioxidants, more importantly to tissue biopsies of the antioxidants in our tissues, to urinary measures of oxidative stress. That would be an inverse correlation, and those are gold standards for stress in the body. So what is it about antioxidants? Why are antioxidants so important? What antioxidants do is protect our cells. They have a lot of components in them, and they're a very big network in our bodies. And we get antioxidants predominantly from fruits and vegetables. Now, unfortunately, people don't eat enough fruits and vegetables these days. I was doing an intake evaluation on an athlete the other day who's in healthcare, a very healthy person. I said, well, about how many servings of fruits and vegetables do you have in a day? And she said, well, let's see. Well, this morning I had oatmeal for breakfast. I had some chili for lunch. Geez, it's 5 p.m. and I haven't had a fruit or vegetable yet. And oatmeal and chili are not unhealthy. But the fact is, we need the predominance of our diet needs to be fruits and vegetables, 8 to 10 servings. And if we can't get 8 to 10 servings, we really need to supplement. And that was another question that has come across my desk many, many a time, is patients would come in and they pull out bags. I take this, I take that. Is this a good supplement? How will I know this is going to work? And that was the other thing that really drew me to this technology, because now I can talk to people about their diet, they can tell me about their supplements, and we can see if together those are giving them adequate cell protection. So if our cells are protected, we have more resistance to chronic disease. And here's why we know that's a big problem. Right now in this country, 60% of the population, I'm glad you're sitting down for this, John, because this is amazing.
Got it.
60% of the population gets heart disease, cancer, or diabetes by the age of 55.
Right.
80% by the age of 65. Now, some of us are knocking on those doors there.
Yeah.
And that's not okay with me, because look at how long we're living. We're living into our 80s and 90s. Therefore, many people are managing a chronic disease for upwards of 30 years. That's a long time to be on medication, to have diet restrictions, to have a lot of activity restrictions.
Right.
What if we could exercise a little more and eat a little better and avoid some of these problems? And that's really what it comes down to.
It's funny because I know I was in here about a year ago, and what you're talking about really kind of hit me upside the head because I was, you know, you start chronologically, you start marching up the calendar, and I realized that I was in pretty bad shape, you know, as far as I was having chest pains, my ankles were swollen, I was like 290 pounds.
You were overweight. Yeah.
And it was kind of one of those things to where it's like, it was kind of a wake-up call to try to make some changes, and I think it was, you know, I was impressed.
Yeah, and you tested not so
not
good.
Not so good, no.
Yeah,
not so good.
And that gave you a little inspiration.
Yeah.
I didn't see you for a few months, and the next time you came in, look at you. You know, you started working out again, you lost a bunch of weight, you're taking good care of yourself, and are you having chest pains?
Not anymore, no.
No.
I actually feel quite a bit better.
We need to rescan you and see what your levels are.
Yeah, I think I've gotten a little bit sloppy the last few weeks, so I think that'll probably not be as good. I need to get back into my diet seriously. But no, I think it was even personally an impact because I was just, you know, you get into your daily patterns and habits that are just not good. You know, it's just, and I think that, you know, and now a question. Now, there's been a lot of the, I guess, some of the stuff in the news, how supplementation is hogwash and, you know, vitamins don't work and everything else. Now, I guess the thing that was fascinating to me about this is you're not just, it gives you an actual measurement of the nutrient levels that your body is actually using. Absorbing. Yes, I mean, so you're actually measuring what your deficiencies are rather than just throwing darts at a wall. Because I think, what's some of the traditional things that are sometimes said against supplements is that it's a waste of money or something like that. Where I think you know, where I think the question on this is it's a little different because you can measure where you're deficient. Is that correct? Is that?
Well, no. What we're measuring specifically is antioxidants.
Yeah. Okay.
So we're measuring specifically what's being absorbed, and that is what you're saying is absolutely true, and we see that a lot. And I don't know if any of you saw Dateline NBC Sunday night. There was this huge expose on supplements that had contaminants, that didn't have the right ingredient, they were making people sick, they were looking at independent labs. You know, you can go to Dayline NBC and see that segment, but that was scary because the truth is there isn't a lot of regulation in the supplement industry. But at the same time, there are some good companies out there that are really trying to address this issue. The issue is that we don't eat enough fruits and vegetables, where there's a lot of trace minerals and phytonutrients that are not in the soil these days. Mm-hmm. So what is a good product and what's being absorbed? So now I can tell if someone comes in and says, I have the greatest product, my cousin sent it to me from here, and it's, you know, just there's all this research and science, I can say, wonderful, let's test you and see if you've absorbed it.
Right.
And then that way we can really separate the good from the bad. Now, there's good and there's bad out there for sure, but there's also individual absorption. So some people will find they absorb certain products better than others.
Got it.
And again, we can measure that.
Interesting. Yeah. Now, I know you've had some interesting success. I mean, what are some of the other people that have had some success stories and, you know, changes and stuff?
I love this device because it's a behavior modification tool. Honestly, it just comes down to that. Because people are competitive. Look what happened to John. I mean, for God's sakes, now he's in bodybuilding contests. Look at the man. Look at the arms. Look at this guy. But anyway, it really helps motivate people. And especially if they get tested with a friend or a family member, then there's a competition.
Right.
And that's a good kind of competition.
Right.
So here's a great story. A mother came in with her 3 children, and the 6-year-old tested, got a low score, burst into tears, sobbing. She was inconsolable. She didn't really know why, but she just knew a low score was bad, and she was upset, and she was going to have to improve it. Then the 12-year-old brother scored, and he scored low also. She was telling me all along that her kids had horrible diets and wouldn't eat their fruits and vegetables, not unusual at all. And the brother said, well, I'm going to eat nothing but fruits and vegetables, and I am going to beat you all.
Got it.
Okay, then the teenager gets tested, the oldest one. She tested well. Hand on the hip. Mom, this is all your fault because you don't feed us right. And then the mother went ballistic, and the mother's like, I can't buy stuff if you don't eat it.
Right.
So, so the agreement that they made was if she didn't eat it, she'd have to pay for it. And, checked in with the mom a week later, a month later, and those kids are eating a lot more fruits and vegetables because they want to beat each other. That's a beautiful thing.
Nice. So it also gives a third-party validation that you can use as a tool to modify behavior, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so, you know,
Absolutely.
so it's not mom saying it, it's the equipment that's
Oh,
saying it.
exactly. Yeah, very
Yeah.
much. It does help. Now, before I was in chiropractic, I actually worked in dentistry. And I think what made me see this technology and latch onto it pretty early on, because it's relatively new on the scene, what really spoke to me was that years ago when I worked in dentistry, it was, again, difficult with motivating people to change
Right.
behavior,
Right.
changing nutritional habits.
Right.
And right when I was finishing my pre-med to go to chiropractic school, I worked in an office where we had a non-surgical technique for periodontal disease. It was a protocol, and it involved showing people, essentially showing people what was undulating under their gums. You took a sample of bacteria and put it up on a microscope slide on a screen.
Got it.
Can you imagine what bacteria looks like on a
Oh,
little
yeah.
video screen?
Yeah.
It's kind of gross.
Yeah.
It's really gross, but you know what? Those people change their habits. So fast forward a few years, and I saw this device, and I said, wow, if this thing is real.
Right.
You know, so of course I did some due diligence. I really
Sure.
looked into the research. Who developed this? What are the studies? There are quite a few patents on the device, so I looked at all the research that
Yeah.
went into the patent, and it was pretty impressive. It's got quite the pedigree.
Now, you're making this so you can get the testing done some different places in the area too. I mean, as I know you're down at Family for Fitness Some and Sierra Hills Market, is that correct? So tell me, where can they get this done?
Yeah, so there's a lot of places you can get tested. You can come here to my office, which is on Main Street. You could also, a couple times a week, we're down at Family for Fitness. As all those athletes really want to see how they're doing and motivate themselves to keep going on the right track, like John did. And then Sierra Hills, the new natural food store. It's a perfect fit. The owner, Mike, is very cutting edge, really a great guy, and he was in here and saw that, and he said, hey, would that device work over in my store?
Mm-hmm.
And I said, well, why don't we try it out and see what happens? So we got together with the staff, everybody agreed they wanted to give it a try, and
Wow.
they're testing people left and right, and it's exciting because people come back and say, okay, I'm eating better, test me again.
Right.
Or I've made this change. A gal, actually I'm not even supposed to know because she wants to surprise me, but they said one of my patients got retested over at Sierra Hills, lost 20 pounds, improved her diet, and her score really went up through the roof.
Very nice.
I want to mention one other thing, speaking of the score, because a celebrity recently set the bar pretty high, and that was Dr. Oz. The scanner was on the Dr. Oz show a couple of months ago. He was doing a show about cancer-fighting antioxidants.
Right.
And so his research team looked out how do we measure antioxidants. They found this technology, found it was great, and it would really work well on his show. And everybody in the audience got tested and got a t-shirt in the color of the score range they were in. And unfortunately, his audience had pretty pathetic health.
Right.
Initially, he was shocked. But then as he kind of went through, he said, well, yeah, but this is the average American eats,
This is
you
the
know,
average.
2 or less servings of fruits and vegetables. So Dr. Oz got tested, and he tested at 75,000. Now anything over 50,000 we consider pretty good, and that's what we want everybody to shoot for.
So he practices what he preaches a little
He
bit.
does. But here's the take-home message that he gave, and I could have written his script. I shouldn't say that, but I really could have. What he said is, hey, you guys, I don't do anything extraordinary.
Right.
What I do is what every single one of you could do. We're all busy. We have crazy lives. But I don't see, it's not any harder to grab a couple of carrots as you're running out the door, grab some tangerines, oranges, bananas, apples, a handful of snap peas, for God's sakes. There's a lot of things that we can grab that are just as easy to eat than fast food or processed or packages, or even all those granola bars that, you know, and sport bars, you know, they're okay, but they're designed for, you know, when you're hiking up in the Sierras, not for breakfast, lunch, and afternoon snack.
Yeah. Now, have you incorporated this in throughout your practice? So, I mean, is it, because I know a lot of your practice is, you know, primarily chiropractic. Now, how is it part of your
It's part of my evaluation, absolutely. When people come in and when we do our complete consultation, history, examination, Absolutely, I want to test people because I want to see how fast they're going to heal.
Right.
It's definitely a reflection of healing time, and of overall health. And what my mission is to inspire people to live better lives, to improve their health, to do all the things they really enjoy doing, and so that this is a really big part
Don't
of
you
that.
think now as medicine marches along as far as joint replacement and things like that, that, people, if they stay active, stay healthy, can actually have very functional lives until, well into their 80s. I mean, as far as, if they can get pieces and parts fixed up and things like that.
Absolutely.
Isn't that?
Well, then that's where we're going.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting because the company that has the patent rights to the scanner, they didn't develop it, but it's actually a research and development company in anti-aging and nutrition. The company is Nu Skin. And Pharmanex. They've been around for 27 years. They're a publicly traded company, and they're doing some extraordinary things right now. They've just acquired a company, LifeGen Technologies, that actually has done genetic research. They have all this data for the last 20 or 30 years, and they're the only ones that have very reputable studies published in Science magazine on primates, on healthy life extension. So everyone's goal is to live a full, healthy life and then have a very quick, morbidity at the end. And just that short period of time where they're not well and then they're gone. We all want to croak fast. Let's face it.
I was seeing some study, I forget where it was, I was reading it, but it says statistically now, even if we never aged, it would be not possible to live past 300 just because we get in a car crash or something accidental would get us or something like that. So this way, you can stay healthy enough that you'll just go hang gliding when you're, something happened, you're hang gliding when you're 90 or something like that.
One can only hope. Really, I want to go on the ski slopes and mountain biking or something like that.
Hey, thanks for what you're doing. No, I think it's inspiring, but I also think it's really a great value for your patients. I think it's because it helps measure. It's very cool.
And well, we have a lot of fun with it, and that's what's important. Is we have to laugh a lot and play hard, and you don't stop playing because you get old. You get old because you stop playing.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome, John.
Thanks.